Hello everyone, today we shall look into the Power Pivot in Excel. Here I am taking a blank workbook. Okay, and I'll click on this blank workbook. Here we have the Excel interface. In order to enable the Power Pivot in Excel, click on File, go to Options. Once you click on Options, you'll be able to see this Options window. Click on Add-ins, and once you click on Add-ins, once you click on Add-ins, here you could see this Manage section where you could see the Excel add-ins. Click on this drop down. Here you could see COM add-ins. Click on that COM add-ins. Click on Go. Here you'll be able to see multiple things, add-ins. Here you need to check this Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel, and then you'll be able to use Power Pivot for Excel. Here it is enabled for me. I'll click OK, and once I enable it, on the top you'll be able to see this Power Pivot. Okay, once you are able to see the Power Pivot, click on the Power Pivot. Here you will be able to see the Manage option. So this is the Power Pivot window. You could go to the Power Pivot window by clicking on the Manage, where it is written as Data Model. We shall understand how it works. Once I click on the Manage feature, you'll be able to see a new window like this, where we'll have the Home tab, the Design tab, and the Advanced tab. Okay, and if you click on the File menu, you can switch to normal mode. Okay, and here if you switch to normal mode, you won't be able to see the advanced features, right? In order to enable it, switch to advanced mode. Then you'll be able to see Advanced, Design, and Home tabs, 3 tabs. Now here, since we didn't connect with any database source or any source, we are not able to see any kind of data. For example, if we need to connect with any external databases, we will click on this From Database. The initial 3 things where we could connect is from SQL Server, from Access, or from Analysis Service, or Power Pivot. From other data OData feed, if we need to connect, we can click on this. If we need to connect from other sources, we can click on this From Other Sources, and here you can see a large list of sources where you can import the data from. So major sources are from databases, so we are able to see the major databases available, and other important databases you could further explore and connect it with the things. If there are any existing connections, it will show in this window. Currently we don't have any existing connections, so it doesn't show anything. And here we have some basic formatting and filtering features. And here we have a data view, diagram view, and calculation area. We'll try to understand what it is. And in the Design tab, we have something to deal with columns, calculations, relationships, and other things. Now let us connect with the database. I have AdventureWorks database, which is related to Microsoft Access. I'll click on this From Database, select this From Access. I'll be able to see this prompt. Now click on Browse, and I have this Microsoft Access database here. I'll select that, click Open, and you could just test connection. If it succeeds, then you'll be able to ensure that we can access the data. Click on Next, and then you can select the list of tables and views to choose the data to import. So as I click on Next, your tables and views will open. Here I have the views in order to access. Currently I'll bring in these 3 tables in order to understand. And suppose that you want to filter or preview the data, you can select the respective view, or you could say table. Click on this Preview and Filter. Once you click on this Preview and Filter, you'll be able to see the data in this format in the table import wizard. Okay, here you can do multiple things. For example, I'll scroll to the right. Okay, here I have something called region. I'll open the drop down, and if I unselect this Australia 1, and I'll unselect this Australia 2 and Australia 3. So these 3 things, it won't be loaded to our Power Pivot model. So we can filter out the unwanted data here. It would help us to apply the filters before loading the data. So I hope you have understood. If you don't need any particular column, For example, if I don't need this freight column, I can uncheck that. Again I'll click OK. So here you could see that I have the filter details here. You could see this column is for filter details, and applied filters is applicable for sales table. Okay, now I can finish, and the data will be imported here into the Excel, or you could say Power Pivot model, and we could further access the data. Now the data is loaded. I'll close this. Here you could see that my data is arranged in a proper tabular format. Okay, and here you could, in the bottom you could see that my 3 tables are being loaded. One is customers, products, and sales. And if I click on the sales table, if I scroll to the right, and here if I could see this region month ID, as you could notice that here I don't see the Australia 1, 2, 3. Apart from that, other values are there. I hope you have understood that the filtered out things will not appear. And additionally, you could see that in between tax amount and month ID, I had the freight values which I have unselected, so we are not able to see that data. For example, if we don't want this tax amount column, I can select this. I can delete the column also. Okay, in this way we can either remove the columns, or you could filter the data before loading, similar to the Power Pivot. And here, if at all you want to bring back the existing data, or you could say you want to revert the things, usually what we do is go to design. Here there is something called table properties, and here there will be something called table preview or other things. But Microsoft has this drawback that we won't be able to use this feature. So there is a workaround for it, where what we'll do is we'll go to home, click on this existing connections, and click on this Access AdventureWorks database. Click on open. Once we open, we'll get back to the same tab. We'll click on next. Since we want another sales table, I'll select that. Here you could see that the name is sales 1, because sales name is already used and which was already loaded. So I'll take this sales 1 where I don't want any filters to be applied. I'll click on finish. So only this sales will be repeated, and it will be imported again into the model. I can close, and here once I load it into the Power Pivot, here you could see in the bottom our sales 1 is the full data, and the sales is the previous data which was being filtered. I'll select the sales, and I'll right click in the bottom and delete it, because I no more require. And what I would do is, rather than sales 1, I'll rename it to sales. So in this way, as a workaround, we can bring in the columns or the data which we wanted. Now here you could see, since I have replaced that original data, you could see that freight column is appearing, and even if I open the drop down, you could see Australia 1, 2, 3 is also appearing. So I hope you are able to understand so far. Here we have something called calculation area, okay, on the top. So this is the calculation area which appears in the bottom. If I uncheck this, you'll see that I'll be able to see the whole data, but I don't see the extra calculation area. If I click on that, you'll be able to see that I have this separate section where I can use it for multiple things. And here the section could be divided, and you could move it according to your requirement. Okay, and this is a data view which we are currently seeing. If at all we want diagrammatic view, we can click on this diagram view, and then we'll be able to see the diagrammatic view of the particular tables. Here we could see that we have the diagrammatic view of all the tables like customers, products, and sales as well. And you could expand it. You could understand what are the columns. If you like to rename the column names over here, you can double click over here and you could rename. Okay, you can make relationships. We'll discuss about it in a while. Okay, and here on the top you have this Excel symbol where you could switch back to workbook. This is my workbook, and if you need to go back to the power pivot, you will be able to see the window which is existing. Now let us understand how this power pivot helps us in order to create the data with respect to pivot tables. So in home we have this pivot table. I can click on that. You can see that where we need to create the power pivot. You could say pivot table using the power pivot data. I can click here in the new worksheet. I'll click OK. Now I have this cell selected over here, and in the right side I have all these tables where the data is appearing. Here you could see that all columns are appearing properly for me, and if at all I want to make a pivot table, I'll open the products table. I'll choose the color, bring it into rows. If I scroll down, I can see this category. I'll bring it into columns. I'll open the sales table and I'll take the sales amount into values. So using this, here we are able to see that our our pivot table is formed. But if you notice, the values are all same because there is no relationship being created with respect to tables. Here we have some by default option which is appearing, which is called auto detect. It will auto detect the relationship, and then it will fix the values. If you click on that, it will take a moment and it will create the relationships appropriately. And now you could see that our data is being filtered properly because relationship is being created. We can click on this manage relationships. Here you could create the relationship according to the requirement, and even other tables as we bring in, we could even create further relationships with the existing data. For example, what we'll do is we'll get back to the power pivot again. Okay, here we are into the power pivot. Suppose here we have the relationship which is auto detected for products and sales, but we do not have the relationship for customers and sales. So what we'll do is we'll bring this data table to the bottom and we'll keep the lookup tables on the top. Here the relationship is the product key. Here you could see that as I hover on it, you'll be able to see the product key. If I want to delete it, I can select that, I can press delete, and you'll be prompted to select whether you want to permanently delete this or not. You can delete from model, then the relationship would be gone. Okay, once the relationship is gone, either you could create the relationship by using the create relationship from here, or else you can use the manage relationships and you can click on create, and then you can create the relationship. If at all you want to directly create the relationship, select this product key, bring it to the product key of sales. You'll be able to create the one-to-many relationship. As soon as I do that, here you could see that one side is my lookup table and many side is my fact table. Similarly, customers, we have customer key. I'll select the customer key and choose the customer key in the sales table. As soon as I do that, you'll be able to see that one-to-many relationship will be formed with respect to customers table and sales table. Now in order to get back to the data view, go to home, click on data view, and you'll be able to see our data as in the previous way. Okay, and here what we need to understand is, in order to bring in the extra data, again we could go to existing connections. We can click on this database, and we can import another lookup table like territory table, and we can click on finish. That will load us the territory table which is required, where it has 11 rows. I can close this. So here we could see our territory table. In the bottom you could see our fourth table is being added, and in the top you could see that there are 11 rows, and where one row is not required, but you could see all the data. Now I can go to the diagram view and fix the relationship with respect to that table. I can click on this diagram view. I can bring this territory table onto the top. Okay, and here we have the territory key. Bring it with the relationship of sales territory key. I'll select that, and you'll be able to see that one-to-many relationship will be formed between territory and sales table. And suppose that you don't want any other columns apart from this country in this territory. What you could do is you could select multiple columns which are not required. Right click on that. You could hide from client tools. Okay, this is one of the way where you know stop showing the necessary data into the, you could say, pivot table, or when you load it for the client. For example, I'll switch to workbook. Okay, and here you could see that my territory table will appear, and you could see only country is appearing over here because I have hidden it from the client tools in the Power Pivot. Here I'll get back to the Power Pivot. If at all you don't want to do it in this way, you can click on Data View and you'll have the columns here. What you can do is you can right click on the column. You could unhide from the client tools, or else if you want to hide, select the column, okay, and right click and you can hide from the client tools. You can hide and unhide in the data view as well as the diagram view. Okay, and you can get back to the Excel by clicking on the switch to workbook on the top. You'll be able to switch to the top here into the Power Pivot, the pivot tables using Power Pivot. So this is how introduction to Power Pivot will help us to load the data from databases, and then help us to create pivot tables and understand how it works. Moving further, we'll understand a few other features in the next videos. This is all for today. Thank you for watching, and we shall meet in the next video.